You're listening to the Fence Builder Marketing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping your service-based business grow and thrive using the latest technology in internet marketing. And now, here's the host of our show and the CEO of Grow Inc., Matt Law.
Scaling is certainly not easy, and that's probably why you are here listening today. But I want to start off by saying, I know it's what you really want to do. You dream about it. You think about scaling your business and then one day maybe being able to sell it and not work as hard. But here's what I'm going to tell you. It's not easy to do. And if you're going to scale your business, you're going to have to do the right things day in and day out. Every month I talk to business owners, service company owners just like you. And here's what they say, Matt, I want to grow my business. And I say, well, how are you doing this year? And most prospects that I talk to that are interested in scaling their companies, most of them are down by 20% or more this year, 2025 versus the previous years. They're down year over year. So the first question, if you're thinking about scaling, is how are you doing this year versus last year? Secondly, when you see all the gurus talk about scaling, the problem is most of them can only scale mature companies. They can only take a $5 million company and get them to $10 million. And the only reason they can do that is because there's enough profits to pour a ton of capital into ads to get them to grow. But what about business owners that are bootstrapping? What about business owners that don't have a ton of cash just to blow on ads? And so I decided that I'm going to make this 4-part training series because number one, I'm sick of the gurus. I'm sick of all the hype and how easy they make it sound. Because if you are going to scale your business and grow by 200, 300%, it's probably going to be the hardest thing that you have ever done in your life. So we're making a 4-part training series where I'm going to talk about the 4 key things that I think you need to do and know to grow. And we're going to release all of these trainings at one time. So after this episode, I hope you keep listening to the other 3. And if you're new to the podcast and you're saying, hey, why should I even listen to this guy? I'm going to lay it all out there for you. At the time of this recording, I am 49 years old. My name is Matt Law. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 21 years old. So for almost 30 years, I've been trying to partake in enterprise. I started my first real company, corporation, when I was 25 years old. It was a correspondent lending company where we would close loans, we would broker them out, and then we would sell them on the market. I bootstrapped all of my companies. We have built $1 million businesses. And guess what? I've even had offers to sell my companies, but decided not to. In 2007, when the recession hit, we lost everything. So we've been through bankruptcy, we've been through foreclosure, and we've had to start all over again. In 2007, we bootstrapped, and this time because of all of the technology and marketing that I was into for our mortgage business, started getting into SEO, Google Ads, been doing Google Ads since 2001. We bootstrapped again and built another 7-figure marketing and training company from the ground up. So as of today, I'm the CEO of a company called Grow Inc. We are a growth partnership company. We don't do typical agency work. Instead, we focus on everything that is required for growth. So that means that our team provides monthly coaching calls to CEOs. We do quarterly planning meetings to plan out all of the marketing. Besides that, if you listen to our podcast, you know we do a ton of marketing, and I share with you some of the things that we do. We also provide things like CRM and systems management, so companies have systems and infrastructure so that they can scale and get reviews and do all of the things. So I've been a marketing consultant for nearly 20 years, but more than a marketing consultant, I've been a boss for a long time. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a small business owner like you. And I've had the privilege to work and learn from a ton of CEOs that have taught me a lot. I have helped some CEOs get a little further. Some of them have taught me as well. And so the goal of these 4-part training series is, one, is I want to share with you from my experience. I also want to share with you what I see successful CEOs and business owners doing. I want to call out their successes and their wins, and I want to tell you their stories about how they've grown their business by doing the right things. But I also want to point out some of the mistakes of things that I've seen, things that I've done, and how companies will collapse on themselves. Even though they will have more leads, they will still collapse on themselves if they violate some of these principles. So there you have it. It's an introduction to who I am, what we're going to talk about. And please note, we've had a tremendous amount of success with Grow Inc. I've had a lot of success in my life, some failures as well. I'm not saying any of this to brag. I have a lot to learn. I'm still growing. I have scars from bad decisions and mistakes, just like you probably do. And that said, we're profitable, we're growing, and we're working with CEOs all across the US. And here's what I know. It takes a lot more than marketing to scale. I know this is a marketing podcast, but it takes more than marketing to win. So if you're a bootstrapper, this is for you. If you want to see behind the scenes of multiple companies that I work with, this is for you. If you're tired of the gurus telling you it's easy, this is for you. If you don't have $500,000 to drop into ads for scaling, this training is for you. So with that said, we're going to break everything down into a 4-part series. This episode is all about the right team. In our next episode, we're going to talk about you and what you need to do to help your team win. In our third episode, we're going to talk about probably one of the most important things to scaling is systems. And in our last episode in this series, we're going to dive into marketing, which is one of my passions. So let's jump in. Episode number 1 in this 4-part series, let's talk about the right team. And here's what you need to know. You can't scale alone, right? As a single business owner, your company is not going to grow beyond your ability to lead and bring in the right team. So the right team is the engine for growth in your service business. The first company we scaled nearly collapsed on itself. And I'm going to tell you the story. We took an aluminum contractor and he had never, ever generated an online lead. I mean, ever. And we built him a new website. And then he said, Matt, I want to invest in this. I want to grow it. And so we did SEO. We built on-site SEO, off-site SEO, built links. We did local SEO, helped him rank really high in the map section. We did Google ads, Performance Max ads that generate a ton of calls, search ads, remarketing ads. We did content marketing. We created a ton of content on his website, went from a 4-page website to over 100 pages, did social media. We did meta ads. Helped him get reviews. He went from, I think, 18 or 19 reviews to over 200 as of today. We did everything right. And he said, Matt, I want to grow. We set everything up and his lead volume almost doubled overnight. It was very, very powerful. Well, the person answering the phone did not know how to use technology. And they went from being all on paper to now having a CRM. And when I tell you she could not use technology, she couldn't type, she couldn't use the CRM. We made tutorial videos, she would not follow them. We gave her training in person, she couldn't follow directions. I think a lot of it was because she was always out on a smoke break and only worked a couple hours a day. But here's what I told the business owner. I said, we should turn down the marketing spend. Because you got so many leads that are falling through the cracks. I went into the CRM. I see all of these leads that haven't been called back. I see all of the people that had appointments that had not received their estimates. And I said, it's not worth investing if she's not going to call leads back because it's just going to hurt your company. You're actually going to get bad reviews if you go out and then you never quote them. And so I said, hey, we should just turn it down. Now, over the years, I've had a great relationship with this business owner. We have grown into become friends as well. And he's grown by about 500%. So from about 800,000 to about over 4 million, somewhere in that range. But I remember what he said to me and I was shocked. He says, I'm going to let her go and we're going to find someone new. And I was like, you guys are friends, you're neighbors. This is a small town. Are you really going to let her go? He says, no, I've talked to her. She just can't get it. And I'm not going to spend all what I'm spending with you on the marketing and have it not work. And so to my surprise, he fired her, and he hired his daughter, and his daughter was sharp as a whip. She followed the directions. She watched the tutorials. She knew how to email. She knew how to use the CRM. She learned. She called the leads back, and she brought everything in order. And guess what? Leads started to close. And what I want to tell you is, had he not done that, had he not got the right person and fired the wrong person, the company never would have scaled. And so today I'm going to break down 3 key roles that you need on your team. In our next episode, I'm going to talk about the 4th key person, which is you. So let's jump in. Team member number 1 is the person answering your phone. They're the one calling leads back. They are the first person that when they call your number, they're going to reach. Now, it might be you right now, but one day as you scale, you are going to find somebody that answers your phones. So I want to give you a couple key traits. This person should be very friendly. They should almost answer the phone with a smile. The caller should feel like, hey, they're happy that you called. They should be responsive. So if leads come in online, they are organized enough to call that person back and be kind and say, hey, you requested a quote. I want to talk to you about this. They should be empowered to schedule and qualify. So I know some companies I work with, what they do is the person answers the phone and then they forward it to a salesperson, and then the salesperson's supposed to call them back to get them on schedule. No, let your office person schedule. Build a system so they can see the salesperson's calendars and schedule right away. The people call in, they should feel welcome, they should feel informed, and they should get scheduled right away. They need to be strong technically so they can schedule people on these calendars. They should be able to email. They should be able to answer questions. And so some best practices that I want to just give you as a business owner, here's how you can make sure you have the right person, is give them scripts, and they don't have to read them, of course, but like bullet points of what they need to know about the company. They should know your business very well. If you have a set of unique selling points of how you're different, they should know those. Like, hey, our warranty's 5 years versus everybody else. They should be able to send out lead forms. So if someone calls in and they're not quite ready to schedule, they should be able to send out your free offer. If they don't have the answer, they should feel comfortable saying, hey, let me call you back in just a minute, and be able to get that answer and then call someone back. They should be motivated by something to schedule people and to help callers. And so a lot of companies I work with, they do bonus compensation, not much, but every appointment they schedule, they get a few bucks to motivate them to schedule people. And they should like you, the business owner. They should care about the company. They should like their job, because if they are miserable, it will show when they answer the phone. And I will tell you, like, we listen to calls sometimes through this tool called CallRail, which allows us to measure the phone calls. It allows us to measure the marketing sources. And when I listen to a call, and if it's a business owner with terrible people skills and he answers the phone, he's grumpy, you can just see how the air gets sucked out of the room. Really, it's a phone call, but you know what I mean? It's just like the momentum dies. But then when someone answers the phone kindly and with passion and kindness and humility, all of a sudden the person on the end is glad they call, and you can listen to the calls, and it just makes all the difference in the world. So as a business owner, here's what I would encourage you: set expectations and have some accountability. So we use a tool called CallRail for call tracking, and we use it to measure marketing, but it allows you to also listen to some marketing calls. And if they know you're listening to some marketing calls from time to time, that gives some accountability, also provides some training. Also, you should measure their success. How many calls did the company get that month to how many appointments? And then basically set a base and like, hey, that's great. And so I'll give you an example of why this matters. Last year, we had a client, and once in a while, he would answer the phone. He's the business owner, but most of the time he did not answer the phone. There was another lady who was super kind, super professional, super warm. Every time she answered the phone, she'd book, a consultation for their business. And so once in a while, if that person was unavailable, he would pick up the phone. And I remember just listening to a call, and he answered the phone, and he would know it was a marketing call, and he felt like he was getting like a bad lead or a wasted call. It was something that was out of scope. And I remember how nasty he was. And then he even hung up on that person. And so, of course, he's not the one that's always answering the phone, so the company has success. But because he was so nasty to this person who had called on an ad to see if something could be done, that person went right on Google that very moment and left a 1-star review just because of how they were treated by the phone. Here's what I will tell you. When I listen to calls, if your person is not kind, is not warm, is not genuinely trying to solve the problem and book the call, just like you would as a business owner, you are in trouble right away. You have to have the right person answering the phone. They are the very first person callers are going to get in touch with. If they request a quote online, they are the ones that are calling them back. So you need to make sure that you have the right people answering the phones. Person number 2 we're going to talk about is the salesperson. And so right now you might be doing the sales, but as you scale and you get someone answering the phones, and then maybe you're doing full-time sales, eventually you may need a salesperson. This is kind of how things go. And why this matters is that you have to replicate yourself, and you might be doing sales for a bit, but eventually you'll need someone that will do your sales and your estimates and some additional work. These are the people that turn interest into revenues. And I will tell you, like your person answering the phone, they have to be good with people. They have to care about people, because they are the ones that are going to build relationships with your customers. And if people like them, then they're going to buy from them. And so it's always said that people do business with someone if they know them, like them, and they trust them. So what are some key traits? Number 1, they have to be trustworthy. So if people do not trust them, they will not buy. If they feel like the sales is slimy, if they feel like the person is untrustworthy, they will not do business with them. They should be likable people. So know them, like them, and trust them. And so they should be people that have strong drive as well. They should be motivated to get out to the appointments on time. They should be motivated to serve your customers, and they should be motivated by progress of closing deals and making money. I'll give you some best practices because I actually know a lot about this area from a lot of clients that I've worked with. So the best practice is you should kind of enforce them to have a professional appearance. And I'm not saying like they can't have a beard or an earring or a tattoo. I'm saying like, what are they wearing that's fitting, for your business model? And so they should be in company shirts and hats and gear. And they just need to look the part when they roll up into the house. Are they in a beater, their own car? Are they in a nicer vehicle, company vehicle? Those are things that you need to go through, but they ought to feel like, hey, this person is professional. Secondly, and this is super important, they should be commissioned. So they should not just be flat base. So different industries, some companies have a base plus commission, but the goal should be to get them working on commission. Commission salespeople are hungry, right? And you will not see someone on commission that's going to be lazy because they just won't last. You need to build follow-up systems for them so there's accountability, and that can be done in the CRM where they can maybe push a couple buttons for follow-up, and they can track the activities that they're doing on follow-up if there's a longer sales process on estimates. If they are not scheduling their calls, right? And so you need a system in place for them to follow up. So with most service businesses that we work with, we don't like the salespeople to schedule. We want somebody else to schedule the sales call or the estimate or the time when they go out there. So if they're not scheduling their calls for themselves and someone else is, the salesman needs a system that they can go in, follow up, confirm the appointment, things like that. A lot of that is done inside of the CRM. They should have the ability to upsell or to cross sell, and it should be done without pressure. So, hey, it's for example, hey, if you're interested in this, you could get this option for a little bit more. It's funny, yesterday I was at a restaurant with my business partner, Jeff, and we were getting ready to order lunch specials. And I said, hey, can I upgrade that to a baked potato? She said, you don't want to do that. That will cost $3 for that. But if you get this one here, it doesn't cost any more, and it's actually going to be cheaper, and you can get a whole side dish, And she basically, maybe it was $1 more. She basically upsold me on that. And then my business partner, Jeff, he asked a question on that. She upsold him, hey, you can get a whole full rack. He got some ribs, a whole full rack of ribs for $2 more. So she upsold him. I said, look at you upselling. And she kind of chuckled, but really she did it so well. And that's how your business, your sales guy should be like, hey, if you're interested, I could quote you on these windows over here. I can, we could quote you on this equipment here. Like it should be adding something else to the process so they can add more to that. So in contrast, a mediocre salesperson is going to talk about price, where a good salesperson is going to talk about value. And so they should be talking about how you're different. If your company has developed unique selling points, which you should, they should be talking about how they're different. Like, hey, did you know our warranty is better than anyone else? Did you know that we do this? So most of our guys that we help with this, they leave a folder behind. We call it their leave behind. It's a folder. Inside of it, it has their reviews. It has their unique selling points. It has information on financing and a business card. And it basically walks them through that entire process. The salesman should tell them what the next steps are, when they're going to receive an estimate or those things like that. It should be really transparent. As I finish talking about the right salesperson for your company, I want to kind of share some things that I've seen that I think are really, really important. A lot of times when business owners are getting someone, they don't think they can get someone on commission only. And so they will set a high base, or a sales guy who's good at sales will come and sell the business owner on them by saying, hey, the only way I can take this and close all these is if you give me a $70,000, $80,000 base plus a high commission. And what I'll tell you is when you pay your sales guys just a base, and when it's too high, they are not motivated to hustle and sell. And so it's best if you can, in your industry, get them on commission, straight commission, with a promise ahead of time of a guaranteed amount they would make over the first couple months. And then if it just doesn't work good, you can let them go. But you need them to be motivated by commission and by selling. That's going to put them on their best behavior. That's going to make them good at follow-up and reminding estimates and trying to close deals. And the other thing I'll mention is I have seen guys that are on straight commission and they actually have too much business. So here's what I'll tell you. If they are not following up, then you have too many leads in the system. So if your business has a sales guy that is not following up, and I mean using your system to follow up, and a day every week where they're following up and they are just so busy with new leads, you have too many leads and you actually need to get another salesperson. And so having the balance with the right salesperson isn't easy. And so what you want them to do, you want them to make a lot of money, you want them to do very well, but they have to be very motivated by following up with leads, closing as much as they can. And if they are too busy, then it's getting close to a time for another salesman. If they are not following up, then that's not a good thing as well. And you want to make sure that they are commissioned. And I could give you a ton of examples. So many companies that I've worked with, they've hired for sales and they paid them too much, and then they've had to fire them. And every time you have to fire and find someone new, it's never good. But if you will make a good decision on hiring your sales guy and you kind of make sure they're the right person, then it's going to go so much better. So we talked about the person answering the phone, and then we talked about your sales team. I'm going to talk to you about person number 3, and this is your contractors and installers, the people that are actually doing the work. They're the ones that fulfill the promise and they do the work. So your sales guy could be good and the person answering the phone is good, but if the person doing the work does not match with excellence and skills and kindness, then there's a letdown. So this is really in a company as it grows, you may have someone answering the phone, scheduling, someone going out there and maybe selling, or maybe going out and doing the work as well. Either way, whoever is doing that work, that contractor, installer, or the person delivering it, they're the ones that are fulfilling the promise. And so I will tell you the key traits: they need to be skilled, they need to be reliable, professional, good communicators. All right. There's so many things that go into this. And you're like, Matt, it's hard to find, good contractors, installers. And we're going to talk through that in a few minutes. But here's what I tell you. If you will grow your company, you are better to have less total employees, less total contractors, and have people that do a really, really great job and give that person more work than have guys that work for you that do not such a good job. And so a lot of companies we work with, they do some of the work themselves and they can do some, but then they have contractors that are 1099. Sometimes they're employees of the company, but either way, whether they're 1099 and have their own business and they're subbing for you, or they're employees, these people have to be skilled, reliable, professional, and good communicators. And I'll give you a couple pointers. Even if they're 1099 and they're contractors, they should wear your company gear. They should wear your shirts and hats and things like that when they're doing the work. When they show up, they should ring the doorbell and introduce themselves very kindly. They should be professional, kind, and have a good appearance. And again, I'm not saying everyone has to look great. They're tradesmen, I get that, but they should fit the role for your company. A couple things that I would really lean on is no smoking on the job sites. Like, some people really don't like cigarette smoke. Absolutely no drug usage. They should show up on time and they should do great work. And the way you can monitor if they're doing good work is getting them to send pictures, calling the customer and say, hey, is everything right? Some of our clients that have subcontractors, basically they make them guarantee their job. So if something's wrong, then that contractor has to go back out and make it right. If they don't, they're not going to get any more business. So it's a great way of monitoring that the contractors do a good job. And so you probably get people calling you all of the time for, looking for work, for jobs. What you should do is say, hey, I'd be interested in talking to you. Can you give me your info? Can you give me your phone number and your email? And then reach out to them and say, hey, send me some pictures of the jobs that you have done so I can see kind of what you've done, and tell me what your base is and your rates. And I would just try to build a relationship with them so that you always have someone to fall back on if one of your team does a bad job and you need to get some new contractors. I will tell you, one of the USPs we try to do for all of our clients is to make sure our contractors or their contractors are background checked. And so there's a couple tools that you can do to do background checks on them. Even if they're not giving you all of their information, you can still look up if they have an arrest record or things like that. If they're employees, I would do drug tests on them as well. So it's interesting is that we recently had some work done to our house. And as the guy pulled up, there was the smell of marijuana when he pulled up. And so listen, I know it may be even legal where you live, but nobody wants to have someone working on their house when they're high. No, I mean, who does? Even if you are like, hey, the whole world should smoke. Even if you're in that camp, you don't want someone up on a ladder that's high, right, on your house. You just don't want that. And so it doesn't take much for it to go wrong with your contractors. And I know that's probably the hardest part of your business. Probably the easiest is sales because they're motivated, the person answering the phone because you can see them. But your contractors are out there, your employees are out there, and you just want to make sure that they are doing a great job. I remember we had our floors redone years ago, and the guys were sitting there talking, and their talk was just... it was pretty vulgar. And the thing is, it didn't bother me because I was in the other room working. But if my children were there, I was like, gosh, it's just unprofessional. And so you just got to teach them and train them And if you get complaints from bad reviews on their work or on their behavior, it's time to let them go. So as we kind of wrap up episode number 1, we talked about person answering the phone and calling your leads, the salesperson, and the installers. And here's what I want you to know. Scaling isn't just about growth, because you aren't going to be able to grow unless you have the right people in the right seats. And if your company is healthy, then it is going to grow. And so what about getting the right people? Well, you have to fire some. And sometimes you are going to have to fire some people, and you should do it as soon as you can. But there's a bigger issue, and this is what we're going to cover in our next episode. The problem might not be your team. The problem might be you. And so the rule in leadership is that you will attract who you are. And this is important because we're talking about you, the CEO, the owner, the boss. And are you a good leader? Are you consistent? Are you somebody that people want to work for? And so again, in next episode, we're going to talk about you, the business owner, and a team is not going to be successful if the leadership is off track. I want to answer just a couple of common questions that I get asked a lot of times. Matt, what do I do if it is just me? And so maybe you're a small company and you are answering the phones, you are doing the work, and you're like, you can't even imagine having a salesperson and all these. Here's what I would suggest. Start documenting the process of what you do so that you're able to train someone to do your job. And maybe it will only be part-time at first, but if you document how you do it, and it could just be as simple as putting it into a document and writing down, here's how I answer the phone, here's what I say, and begin to document that. And then it may be, hey, this person's going to start answering the phone for just a couple hours a week, and let them do that so that it frees up more of your time to work on the business. And that leads me into the next question. Who should I hire first? Maybe you're growing, and usually the first person that companies hire is someone to handle the phones and office work. Now, they may be at home and they may be virtual and you may not even have a location, but they can help with scheduling. They can help with permitting. They can answer the phones. They can call leads. And they basically can do some of the work so that you can do the work of selling and working on your business. Another question I hear is, when do I need to hire a salesman? It's really when you can't keep up with all the sales and the project management. And there's usually a tipping point where you are getting pulled on for project management. And because of that, your sales are floundering, and maybe you're not closing as much, and you're a really good salesperson, but you're not able to close as much because of all of the work you're having to do to help manage projects and things like that. So that's the time that you're likely going to need to hire a salesperson, when the amount of revenue you're losing because of your inability to deliver a full-time sales effort, you're losing revenues. And when that amount equals the amount that new salesperson is going to cost, it's time to hire. And then it's going to free up more time. Eventually, then you could look at getting a project manager as well. Another question I get, what if I can't afford to hire someone and I am so busy and you need help? This is a really tough issue. If you are so busy, you're slammed, working 60 hours a week, and you can't afford to hire someone, you have a couple of issues. More than likely, you're not charging enough. You have a pricing issue. And so if you are working like 60, 70 hours a week, but you say, I can't afford to hire someone, one thing is you're maybe not charging enough, or if you are charging enough, you're probably taking too much money out of the company. You're paying yourself too much. Maybe you're in a lot of debt, and so your numbers are out of whack. So your monthly pay is so high that you can't afford to reinvest it into that. So if you're not slammed and you're like, Matt, I got plenty of time, but I need more business. And you're like, you can't hire somebody because you just don't have enough business, then that's a marketing exposure lead problem. And so hopefully you found some value in this first episode. I know, like, we talk marketing on our podcast, but I was very excited to talk about entrepreneurship and business leadership, because here's what I've seen over the last couple of years of really trying to scale service businesses. This is what I see. I start talking about marketing and the lead volume and what we can do, and there's excitement. And as that begins to roll out and the increase of leads come and the increase of calls come, and when we start working on this, there's excitement. And usually initially there's no issue. But as the business begins to grow, as the leads increase, as the organic takes off and the lead volume increases and all of that is boosted up, then there's a time where the business owner begins to go through a lot of stress because they need more help, or leads are in the CRM and they're not being called, or there are projects that are, there are appointments scheduled that don't have estimates, and they're like, I can't keep up with this. And it comes down to people. And I have conversations with business owners all the time. And I had a conversation not even too long ago, and the business owner said, I just need systems in place to do that, to automate everything so people will, I don't have to rely on people. And we'll talk a little bit about AI as we just close. Artificial intelligence is able to do a lot of great things, right? And it is going to replace people's jobs, no doubt in my mind. But here's what I want to tell you. The business owner was saying, like, hey, let's just automate this and we won't even need them. And this is what I said to him and what I will tell you. If I tell somebody, this is what I expect, all right, and I'm very, very clear, and I say, do you understand? And they say, yes, I understand. Are you able to do this? Yes, I'm able to do this. Is there any reason why this won't be done? Nope, it's going to be done. And then they still do not do those things that they know are expected. It's not a system problem. It's not a technology problem. It's not hiring AI. The problem is, it is a person problem. And if you, the leader, do not solve the person problem, your people are not the problem. You are the problem. If you have set clear expectations for your people, you pay them fairly, you treat them well, and they do not do what they said they were going to do. Number one, why aren't you doing it? Is there something I can do to help you? No, I can do it. If they still do not do it, they are the problem. And if you don't do anything about that problem, they're no longer the problem. You are the problem because you did not address those issues. In our next episode, we're going to talk about leadership, CEO behavior. I'm going to share with you some stories from what I've seen in my life, what I've seen in the CEOs that I work with. And I just want to remind you as we close out this training, don't forget you can request our free marketing book and marketing checklist. I actually just added a bunch of cool training videos. You can go and get those at grow.inc. That's GRO.INC. And I want to remind you, if you subscribe to the podcast, you'll be notified when we upload more resources and episodes. But also love it if you like this episode or perhaps gave us a kind review. It would really help us out. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the podcast today. We hope you found today's episode helpful and informative. For more information about Grow Inc. and to request our free marketing blueprint ebook and other resources, please visit www.grow.inc. That's GRO.inc. We'll catch you in the next episode.